Welcome to the Adam Does Movies live show for Friday night. You know, I was actually running to get here in time because I was watching a little film with my wife, and we still sadly have 45 minutes left of it. It's a movie I've seen before, and this is going to kind of tease into. It's really going to segue perfectly into tonight's show, which is about movie thrillers I recommend. We're getting close to October. Rocktober, as I call it once in a while for fun. We got about 15 days roughly before October hits, and we go into scary movie season. But before that, I thought it would be appropriate to talk about thrillers. Thrillers I actually enjoy quite a bit more than pretty much any other genre, except for maybe a comedy and an action from time to time. But thrillers are they're just so damn good. And I think it's only fair that September becomes the month of thrillers and when we can really celebrate them. So as I was saying, the movie I was watching leading into this, and I'm going to share it with you right now. And I have to apologize to some people in the Adam Does Movies community because I was wrong. And that movie is Prisoners. This film with Jake Gyllenhaal, Viola Davis, Hugh Jackman. It's a story about a father, well, two fathers really, who lose their daughters, and they have to kind of take the law into their own hands. Really, it's Hugh Jackman that does the majority of the law in own hands situation. Jake Gyllenhaal plays the investigator. This movie is freaking great. Again, I've only seen it once, and I had a really sour taste in my mouth when the movie ended. It left me with a bad chip on my shoulder because it does have that subversion of expectations bullshit. And now, as I've said, I still have 45 minutes of this movie, 35 if you take out credits and whatnot. So it still could disappoint like it did before. But it would be a disservice for me not to still recommend this, regardless of my own opinion on how it ends, because it's so well put together. I just have to give it a shout out. Of course, the name of the game for every live stream are super chats. It's how we keep the show running, really. The live streams I do twice a week. The podcasts I do every Monday. And now I'm starting to port some of these other ones. Some of these live videos are going to be on podcasts on Spotify and Apple. The movie reviews, the movie roasts, almost all of that revenue at this point, over half of the revenue every month comes from live stream super chats. So I really appreciate it. We had an amazing Tuesday night showing. I don't know what happened Tuesday night, but people were just shot out of a cannon, doing really great things. Let's talk about these. So today, I'm sorry. I'm like jumping all over the place. The today's project, I am going to be throwing out my favorite thrillers, and I want you to super chat your favorite thriller suggestion. If you have one, throw it out there. I'll put it up on the screen for people to see. And if I've seen it, I'll comment. We'll have a talk about it. We'll share our feelings about it, and then we'll move on with our day. Kyle Nelson, right out of the gates, has a $1.99 super chat. Let's put it up on the screen before I get into mine. Thriller? I hardly even know her, says Kyle. Beautiful. I love a good play on words. I love a good pun, Kyle. Welcome to the stream. Thank you. And with that, I say we jump into my list. This isn't in any order. I feel like I always have to say that for some reason. Like my pride is on the line if one is over the other. But we're going to start out. We're just going to spend a little bit of time on each one. Not a lot. We don't need to get crazy. This is called Funny Games. Funny Games, the movie came out in 2007. It's got Naomi Watts as the lead. You have Michael Pitt in this. You got Tim Roth. The quick overview of the movie is we have a nice little couple out on a little summer retreat up at their nice little getaway house. And these two young douchebags break into the place, put them at gunpoint and say dance monkeys. They just torture this family. It's a wife, a husband, and I think a son maybe. I've only seen this once. It was a great flick for a one-time watch. I do actually want to go back and watch it again this year because it's been sitting with me for over a decade now. And I mean, oh my God, we're going on 15 or so years. It's a very good movie. Definitely worth watching one time. If you've seen it, let me know. Put a comment in, something. And in super chat form, of course, we have to do super chats. That's the thing. Matt Sclaro. God, I always say Matt Sclero. For $4.99, thank you, Matt. Matt, I feel like I can call you Matthew at this point, Matthew. We'll say that. Primal Fear he puts on the list. Man, I wonder if I have it on mine, Matt. Wouldn't that be wild if I also had that on my list? Let's go look. Let's see if it's on here. Well, look at that. It's on there. It's on my list. Primal Fear. I don't want to give away the game, so I'm not going to show the whole list with you right now. We'll go over it at the end. But yes, Primal Fear is a great film directed by, I don't know, Gregory Hoblit? I don't know who that is. What has he done? What has he done for me lately? Well, it came out in 1996. You have Richard Gere, who I can't say I'm like a huge fan of. I don't know a lot of Richard Gere movies that really jump out, but Edward Norton really put it in the performance here. Richard plays his lawyer, his attorney, whatever you want to call it. He believes that Edward Norton's character is being wrongfully convicted because he's not himself. He's got multiple personality disorder, and it's all gonna slowly unwind as the film goes on, and you don't know who to believe. Norton, again, just top form in this movie. Thank you, Matt, for bringing it up. I was going to get to it, but I'm glad you jumped in. I appreciate that. And Matt, if you don't know, he has the next roast coming up this week for Showgirls. So expect a 20+ minute roast on really a cinematic darling with Elizabeth Berkley and is it Elizabeth Berkley? Is that right? Elizabeth Berkley. Okay, it is. What I always get her confused with what's the woman's name in Austin Powers? That's Elizabeth something too, I think. We're gonna move past it. Primal Fear, thank you for the recommendation, Matt. I'm gonna turn off the view so that we don't see what's next. Where are we? Little film called Seven. Now, I will tell you ahead of time, there are like 4 David Fincher movies on my list. He's the king at this. I really wish he would come back to these thriller type flicks. I know he's got a new movie coming out. I think it's called The Killers. I'm hoping that he gets back to this style again, because between this and a few others on my list, it's just perfection right now. We have Brad Pitt, we got Morgan Freeman, and we got a crazy killer on the loose played by Kevin Spacey. Gwyneth Paltrow is also in there as a supporting actress. This movie has such a good vibe to it. It's very dour. The rain's constantly coming down. These detectives are on the mean streets looking at some of the worst, most horrific crimes they've ever seen. And Morgan Freeman's no spring chicken in this. He's been on the beat for a very long time. He's right around. He can see retirement looming, but he wants to get this one last job done, and it's going to come at a cost. If you haven't seen Seven, avoid all spoilers at all costs. It's one of those movies that leaves you on the edge of your seat from beginning to end. I absolutely love it. You know, we can spoil. Oh God, don't look. Okay, The Game. This is another David Fincher film. You know, I thought I sorted the list so that you couldn't see that many at once. Hang on, let me change the view for a second. This is going to sound great for the podcast when half of the time is just me fucking around. There's a way to change the list. There, we'll do it like that. Okay, now I can actually show ahead. Let's share again. Let's Sunny and share. There we go. So you can see one ahead, but after that, they'll all be secrets. All right, Michael Douglas stars in The Game. It's kind of like the other Richard Gere. He's the better Richard Gere for me. This movie is I think it's underrated. I don't think people ever talk about The Game like they talk about Seven or Fight Club or some of his other, like Social Network. The Game is like top tier David Fincher material here. We have Michael Douglas, who it doesn't say the name of the character. I don't remember the names of the characters. Michael Douglas, Sean Penn. Sean Penn wants to do something nice for this guy for his birthday. So he has him go to this location where they read all these different things on his body. Like they go through his mind, his psyche, his physical appearance, his physicality. And then they determine the best way to play a game on him. The game will start unbeknownst to him. And that's when things go wild, because it's like, is this game for real, or are they really fucking with this dude and taking his money and taking his life away? And it's not until the end where we're going to find out what's actually going on. Again, avoid spoilers. Go into this as fresh as you can after what I just gave you, and just be amazed by the beautiful cinematography, the great acting, and the wonderful story. I think you'll be impressed with this one. I know I am. We have a super chat for $15. Thank you, JL-PHX. I have a neighbor with the same exact. Damn it, I butchered the joke. JL-PHX. I got a neighbor with the same name. Oh my God, now I swallowed an ice cube. I swallowed an ice cube whole. It's going to sound good on the podcast. Just want to say that you're awesome, and I've enjoyed your videos and your sense of humor. Two of my favorite thrillers are American Psycho and Gone Girl. JL, I appreciate that very much. One of them, I am in full agreement. I should have added it to the list. American Psycho, Christian Bale, awesome film. Gone Girl, people are really big on that one, and that one did not work for me, and it's also David Fincher. I felt like having the twist reveal halfway through the movie just undercut everything that came after. And I didn't care at all about these two kind of miserable, terrible people trying to one-up each other in the fucked up department. I understand and I appreciate why people like it. It just didn't personally hit me the right way. Thank you, JL. I'm glad you're getting some entertainment out of my shtick and out of my love for movies. I appreciate it. Let's get this off while I look at one more super chat. Kyle Nelson, $4.99 super chat. Thank you, Kyle. Disturbia with The Beef with Shia LaBeouf and Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler. Okay, I really do like Disturbia, which is kind of a quasi reboot of, what is it, Rear Window or something like that. Very, very good movie, underrated. I should watch that one again, actually. And Uncut Gems I did really enjoy too with Sandler. I should have prefaced my list by saying, because thrillers are kind of encompassing, they run the gamut, right? It's a pretty nebulous term, thriller. You can throw a Michael Jackson song in there. You can throw a sci-fi alien movie in there. You can throw in like an Uncut Gems. How I'm using thriller is really kind of skirting the line, walking the line between a full-bore like horror film and murder mystery kind of caper style. So really a film that gives you kind of a sick feeling as you're watching, or a disturbed feeling as you're watching, or a Disturbia feeling. And then it usually ends on kind of a sour note. It's not a feel-good film. I mean, both of yours actually work, because Uncut Gems definitely has a tragic ending. Although Uncut Gems I found to be more like almost a dark comedy more than anything else. And Disturbia is just a solid kind of action thriller, which I appreciate. Thank you, Kyle, for the picks. Let's see what else is on my list. Let's see what else we have to work with. What else is cooking? Another Fincher. I kind of put all the Finchers in a row as a Fincher-bration of sorts. Zodiac. Like I said, I'm watching Prisoners right now with my wife. This movie feels an awful lot like Zodiac. The way that it's playing out, the slow, methodical pace to it, the tension, the mystery, the divisive endings, kind of. Although I think Zodiac's ending's a lot stronger. Personally, it doesn't leave you feeling so empty inside. I mean, yes, the ending is very much open-ended. There's no solving of a case here. But I like the way that it frames that person that he goes to see at the end. Oh, it's really good. Both movies have Jake Gyllenhaal as well as a detective trying to figure things out. Oh, wait, is he a detective in Zodiac? He might just be a journalist in Zodiac. That one's really fun because we unlike Prisoners, where it's the span of a week or two, Zodiac spans generations. This movie spans like 30 years. So you have all these different cool characters coming and going. Mark Ruffalo's in this. You got Robert Downey Jr. I mean, half the cast of the Avengers is in this film. Robert Downey Jr.'s in here. Jake Gyllenhaal. They've all been in an Avengers movie. But then again, at this point, who hasn't been? Wonderful cinematography. Again, you cannot miss with David Fincher. What do we got next? And I think this is the last one I put on my list from the director, Panic Room. I've brought this movie up several times. It's not his best work by any means. It's not an amazing movie by any means, but it's a really simple, well orchestrated film that keeps the tension ratcheted up. You have some great actresses. I mean, well, you have a great actress here with Jodie Foster. What is it? Kristen Stewart. She holds her own. This is pre-Twilight, so she's not quite as bland, I guess. It works for the character. You got Forrest Whitaker. You got Jared Leto in here. That might not be a selling point, but he works really. His character is great. Fincher knows how to use Jared the right way. The premise is simple. A mother and daughter, estranged ex-husband pays for them to live wherever they want. So they pick this massive house downtown, super wealthy. They wanted to stick it to the husband because he's got tons of money. And this place is just prime for kind of disturbed situations to occur. It's like a 4 or 5 stories flat or whatever you call it. Is it a flat if it's more than one level? I don't know what you call houses. I don't know what you call an estate. Flat is like, that's just one level, I think. I should really research things before I say them. Regardless, some bad guys are there to break in and steal some shit, but there's a panic room installed, and that's where Foster and her daughter are going to spend the time at. They're going to be in this panic room, and the guys have to try to figure out how to get them out. Little bit of a bottle episode idea. I dig it a lot. And again, it's just Fincher makes something so simple as making coffee look interesting because he'll take a camera and he'll throw it through the fucking little handle of the coffee cup, and then it'll fly up through some railings. And it's just, he's a genius behind the lens. You know, people always get hard on Zack Snyder. It's like, dude, there's way better directors out there doing stuff that look realistic. And I like Snyder too, but I feel like everybody just dies on that hill when there are other directors out there doing some really, really amazing things. All right, let's move on. Now I have that, because Kyle brought up Disturbia, I have that song by Rihanna in my head. Bam, 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 bam. Disturbia. Na, 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 Disturbia. The Host. Is that up on the screen still? Yeah, we have The Host here. I'm a man of culture. I have a couple foreign films on this list. This is 2006. I think this is the same director that did Parasite. Bong Joon-ho. Probably shouldn't have even tried to pronounce it because now I just lost all credibility. This is a great premise because it's kind of got a monster thing going on. This fish creature has been birthed out of the ocean, out of the canal, because a bunch of toxins were poured down years earlier. So we have this deformed giant sea beast that comes out middle of the day and starts attacking people. He's gobbling them up. He's putting them in a nest for later. So we have a family who's on a mission to save their daughter, much like Prisoners. We have a missing daughter situation, and the father is hell-bent on saving her. What I like about this one is how the father changes over the course of the film. He's very klutzy. He's incompetent. He's borderline frustrating. But by the end of the movie, he's going to come into his own. He's going to find a way to utilize his skills, and maybe he'll save someone in the process. It might just not be the one you think. Absolutely recommend The Host. Subtitles, if that bothers you, just push through it. Push through it. It's got beautiful cinematography. It's got some cool action. It's got some fake CG that's still cool and still looks fine for what they're doing. I think at one time it was going to get Americanized, but then they put the kibosh on it. So this is the only version I know. This was actually recommended by a Patreon. I would never have seen this movie if it wasn't for a user at the Mithril level who said, Adam, I'm making you watch The Wailing, 2016 film. It really is like a Seven or a Zodiac. I thought this was great. A stranger arrives in a little village, and soon after, a mysterious sickness starts spreading. So a policeman goes to investigate, and what's really happening is there's some demonic shit going down. but the townspeople think maybe it's a disease that's spreading around, or maybe this demon really does exist and it's taking the form of an elderly man up in the hill, or maybe it's not the elderly man, maybe it's some other mysterious character we haven't met yet, or maybe it's the father becoming corrupted, or the daughter is the demon. It keeps unspooling, and I'm on for the ride. It is a little on the longer side, but I do think it's worth it, and that's why it's on this list. Obviously, it's a little redundant to say I think it's worth it. I think everything on my list is worth it. We have a super chat coming in, a recommendation from Rob K. $2 super chat. Last Night in Soho. I saw the twist coming though. Yeah, Last Night in Soho. This is a film from what is his name? He did Baby Driver. He did Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Why can I not remember? He was supposed to do Ant-Man. Oh, it's gonna bother me that I can't think of it off the spot. But Rob K, I'm with you. The first 2/3 of Last Night in Soho are really fantastic. I did not like where they went with it. It felt like a completely different movie. I felt a little hoodwinked by the end, and it just didn't line up for me. I don't know what it is. Something about that final act just did not work. I appreciate the recommendation, though, and I do think it is worth watching to form your own opinion, of course, because that director, whose name I can't remember, does good work. Let me look it up. Let me look it up quick. Last Night in Soho. Director. Edgar Wright. There it is. Last Night in Soho. Thanks for the memories. Na 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 na. Every time I hear the title, I for some reason think of that song that like Fall Out Boy. Okay, Parasite. There it is. I knew it was on here. And yes, it is the same director that did The Host. I think a lot of people have seen this film. It's not what I thought it was going to be going in. I went in blind, assuming a Parasite. Okay, it's going to be like some demons or some disease that's crawling in people and making them go crazy. No, it's not that at all. It's about this family that's incredibly poor, and they take advantage of much more wealthy, I want to say ignorant, I guess. I don't even know if that's the right word. Like well-intentioned family members who they assimilate into their lives by becoming their driver or their tutor or whatever they can do to get involved. And then they just start taking advantage of them financially. They stay at their place when they're gone, and shit just snowballs by the time this thing's over. Now, there is, of course, this mysterious rock. I lean towards it being a red herring, but I know that it also has some kind of symbolic meaning in the culture, and that it does have like bad luck associated with it. So there is definitely layer to this film too. And it's another one of the movies, much like The Host, where you have a character that's a little incompetent or not really the one you would call a hero of the picture, who kind of by the end of the movie becomes exactly that. He becomes competent. He becomes the hero of the picture. Check out Parasite. It's a fun time. It's a wild ride. Last Night in Soho. Thanks for the memories. Na 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 na. Oh, we have a super chat. Let me bring up the super chat quick before I jump into the next one. Give me full screen. $5 super chat from Christoph. I don't like when it's one big word like that. Christophilakis. I'm going to go with Christophilakis. We'll just say Chris. $5 super chat. I literally just finished Prisoners before joining the stream. Most of the characters made me mad, but I really like Dennis as a director, so I'm torn. Okay, yeah. Chris, that's where I was at the first time I watched Prisoners. It's so well directed, and the motivations all make sense. And I like that there's some depth to all these characters and what you're willing to do for your child. But the way they go about certain things is very frustrating. And that ending is just, again, my wife hasn't seen it. She claims, even though I know I took her to the theater to watch that movie when it came out, but it's been a long time. We had just had our first child, so we were both pretty out of it. And that's another reason why I thought maybe I will enjoy this more on a second viewing. And so I'm very curious I'm very curious to hear what she has to say when this movie winds down. And I hope she's not secretly watching it upstairs right now. I told her I wanted to finish it with her. Thank you, Chris. Matt's back, baby. $4.99, Arlington Road. Excellent thriller with Jeff Bridges and Tim Robbins. Matt, you've brought this up before, and I do agree. It was a good thriller when I saw it back in the day. I don't know if I'd put it on, if it makes this criteria on my list, because Arlington Road, that's like a speed to me. It's like an action thriller. It doesn't have the disturbing nature to it. I mean, it is disturbing. The neighbor is was he like a bomb? He's a terrorist, I believe. He's a terrorist, and Jeff Bridges, or I'm going to butcher it. It's been 1,000 years since I've seen it. But Matt, great suggestion. Arlington Road is a good movie. Came out right around the same time as Blown Away, which I also really enjoy. Again, kind of action thriller-esque as well. Beautiful recommendation. Kyle's back. Paranormal Activity for $1.99. You know, Kyle, I thought about where that would fit. I don't know if I would say Paranormal Activity. It's tough for me to call that one a thriller, because that's kind of almost like a Cloverfield to me, or a Blair Witch Project, where, yes, kind of maybe in the thriller department, but I would put that more in just a straight up horror film, scary movie, however you want to label it. But thriller, it doesn't seem smart enough, if that makes sense. It doesn't seem sharp enough to be a straight thriller. There's not really any mystery to Paranormal Activity. It's just straight up, these people are getting haunted by a demon. The first one is pretty good. Which one was it? The third one I think I saw. I skipped the second. They're all kind of different, I think. But the third one had an amazing marketing campaign, because all the trailer footage was alt takes that didn't make it to the final cut. So everything in the trailer is in the movie, but it's different. So in the trailer, I believe they were going up to the mirror and playing Bloody Mary, but in the movie that doesn't happen that way. Just everything. It was a complete misdirect of sorts, but it wasn't false advertising, because really you were getting all of these sequences. They just played out differently. And for a horror movie, that's really half the battle, is being surprised. Thank you, Kyle. Okay, back to mine. We have Nope on here. Now, there's a couple on my list where I'm at odds with myself where to put them. Nope, you could definitely put in just a straight sci-fi horror, because I always considered it Jaws in the sky, and I don't have Jaws on my list, even though that is a thriller / horror as well. Nope just barely squeaks by, because I do think that there is a big mystery element to it. Plus, there is a lot of layer to this movie in terms of baggage that these characters bring to the table and how it's manifested. You have that whole monkey attack scene, which is brutal and freaking awesome to watch. And then you have this mystery on the ranch. I really eat this up. I've seen it a couple times, and it gets better. It gets better on repeat viewings. What's next? Let me move down. Silence of the Lambs. Every time I hear Silence of the Lambs, I just think of Cable Guy. Hello, Clarice. It's good to see you again. My daughter actually just watched this for the first time with my wife. I didn't have the luxury of sitting down and watching it with them. I was in the background. I think I was like in the kitchen doing dishes or cooking or cleaning, or, you know what? I mean, I'm just 24/7 working over here. No matter what needs to be done, I'm doing it, sort of a situation. I don't know what I was doing. I think I was at one point in the kitchen, though, making breakfast or something. We're watching this at like 10. We're having a big breakfast that day. Regardless, Silence of the Lambs, it holds up very well. You got 2 Jodie Foster films on this list for good reason. She's kind of the queen at this stuff. You have Anthony Hopkins giving the performance of his career. Probably one that still hasn't shaken him to this day. I wonder how many people have gone up to him and said, "Hello, Clarice," or "Silence of the Lambs." I'm sure it kind of tears at his soul. But you know, the concept is simple. There is a crazed killer on the loose, and the best way to get into the mind of someone who's kidnapping and torturing women is to go to someone that thinks like them. And that's where Hannibal Lecter comes in. He's going to help Jodie Foster's character figure out who this Wild Bill individual is, how he ticks, and how to stop him. It's a classic for a reason. 1991. Misery, you insist that the weight of the world should be on your shoulders. Metallica? Yeah, Metallica. 1990. I didn't know Rob Reiner directed this. Interesting. Misery, Kathy Bates, James Caan. Story by Stephen King. Another simple affair. A famed writer is up in the mountains in a small town in buttfuck America, gets in a massive car crash because there's a blizzard on the road. Kathy Bates' character finds him, picks him up, brings her back to her place where she's going to nurse him back to health, or at least nurse him well enough so that he can type his next great American novel. And she's going to make sure that he does it the right way, or he's going to pay by getting his legs broken, or by, getting hit in the face with a typewriter, or whatever it takes to keep him in his bed and keep her happy, because she is his number one fan. And so really it is a societal commentary on how far sycophants will go to get what they want, how they will kind of map on an image of someone that isn't really that image at all. This is a really fun movie. She's very neurotic. She's got everything in place where she wants it to be. So when he knocks over a little penguin item, she picks it up and puts it back on the table. She says, "Wait, that's not how it was before." She remembers this shit. And again, it's a fast watch. It's an easy watch. Recommend it. 1990. What a good year. What a good year. And we got a super chat in from our friend Jan Rose. $2. Thank you, Jan. Black Swan. Now that's a good pick. That is a great pick. So magically dark and amazing. Yes. Okay. Director of Requiem for a Dream, which is kind of a thriller in a sense as well. That's a powerful movie. Black Swan, I think, is one you put on the list. Natalie Portman, the Mila Kunis. She was in the news recently. I know she's been having a good go at it lately. Yeah, these two put in the performance, again, of their lifetimes. Natalie Portman is at top form here. I have to see it again. It's been a long time. I just remember she's a struggling ballerina, and the new up-and-comers kind of fucking with her head, getting in her business, and at some point she's literally becoming this black swan. It's a really creepy movie in the best way possible. Thank you, Jan. There's a couple on my list coming up that are on here because I saw them once or twice and then probably saw them 45 times on TV, and I still don't really remember them, but I put them on here because they're probably kind of fun schlocky movies that you should see. And here's one of them now. The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, 1992. We got Rebecca De Mornay in this, who kind of looks like Naomi Watts. I don't know if I'm the only one that feels that. I know that Ernie Hudson, one of the Ghostbusters, is in the mix. At one point, she breastfeeds another woman's baby, because what happens is Rebecca De Mornay. How do you say that, Mornay? Rebecca De Mornay. I always think of Seinfeld because there's a character that's in 2 or 3 episodes. It's a heavyset black woman. Her name is Rebecca De Mornay. It's just a funny thing. I don't know. But she's in this, and she's a servant for a household, another Parasite situation where she wants to play mom, and she actually wants the child of her own. So this newborn baby comes into the family. She wants to be mom. She wants to play housewife, make the husband fall in love with her. Ooh, it's good. It's devious stuff. Hand That Rocks the Cradle all day long. Here's a classic. The Sixth Sense. Haley Joel Osment sees dead people. We have Bruce Willis in this. Bruce Willis, obviously, as we know, not having a good go at it either. He's suffering from a debilitating disease. I can't remember what it's called, but basically he's done acting. It's a tragic thing. It kind of built, I think, pretty fast in the last 5 or 6 years. But unlike the rest of us, he's got a classic lineup of films that we can always go back to and think fondly on some of the stuff he's done. I mean, it was fucking John McClane, for crying out loud. Here, though, he's kind of a mystery guy that comes into this family's life. He talks to the son, and he's going to be sharing some stories about ghosts that the poor kid's seen and how that maybe we can ease that suffering. And I'm not going to say anything else because if you don't know the twist on this, or if you don't know anything about this, just watch it now, because odds are you're going to see something somewhere that's going to spoil this movie before you know it. I see dead people. Here's another one on the list that I've seen this movie a couple times. 12 Monkeys, 1995, Terry Gilliam. It's been probably a decade since I last watched it, but I had this phase in my life, teenage years, where you're angsty, you're troubled, you're watching a lot of weird ass movies. 12 Monkeys is a weird ass movie. Another Bruce Willis vehicle. Brad Pitt's in this too. I feel like there's another one or two people. Christopher Plummer. Yeah, there's some decent actors coming and going. Brad Pitt in the 90s, mid 90s, was freaking great. He had some fun roles. And here, this is him at his looniest. He plays an actual mental patient who's got a lot of ideas floating around that noggin. Bruce Willis is a time traveler who has voices in his head. I can't even explain this movie. And even after watching it, I'm not sure I fully can explain it. But it has something to do with stopping the end of the world. It's a very, very odd movie. If you want to talk about bizarre movies, watch 12 Monkeys. It'll be right up your alley. Here we go. This has got to be a schlock fest. I refuse to believe that The Good Son holds up in any meaningful way, but I have a good soft spot for this movie. You got two little kids coming into their prime. You got Macaulay Culkin, or Mac as he's referred to nowadays, and Elijah Wood. These were the stars. These were the kids, and they're going head to head in this movie. The good son, Elijah Wood, is going to be spent a lot of time with this piece of shit, Macaulay Culkin, who likes to throw dummies over bridges to see what happens to the cars below. He likes to push kids out into the ice rink and see if they fall through in the thinner part. It's a trip. It's a trip down memory lane for sure. What year did this come out? 1993. Okay. I'd be very interested to know if this movie holds up, and I definitely have to watch it with my kids now. Macaulay Culkin, just look at his face there. You just want to punch him. He kind of looks like my son. Kind of looks like Connor there. A lot like, yeah, no wonder I want to punch him so bad. All right, let's move on. Oh, and if you're new here, subscribe for child abuse. We have fun. The Invisible Man. Oh, man. Let me get some super chats in before I get too far. Oh, no, wrong one. Wrong window. Again, the audio version, just stellar. Let's see. Kyle Nelson, 199. Any episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog. I used to watch that show on Cartoon Network. I think it was part of Adult Swim. Maybe. It might have been the edge of Cartoon Network. They had some more adult-ish shows, Samurai Jack being one of them. Yeah, Courage was probably on there. Funny ass show. It was a little pink or purple dog, and it was always screaming. It lived with its owner, this old ass dude, on a house on a floating rock in the middle of nowhere. And every episode, insane things happen. Monsters show up, ghosts, goblins, demons, vampires, you name it, it happens. And Courage, the Cowardly Dog, somehow has to, muster up the courage to stop these things. So he is a cowardly dog, but I quite the contrary. He does quite a bit more than you would imagine a scaredy cat would, or a scaredy dog, I should say. Thank you, Kyle. Courage, what a throwback. Jan Rose for $5. Thank you, Jan. Nightcrawler. Oh, yes. Even though I hate it because it's one of those movies where the bad guy stays the bad guy, which gives no happy ending. I hate it. No, it's a thriller, so you want it to end on that sour note. And it's also kind of a commentary on how corrupt the media is as well, because Nightcrawler, another Jake Gyllenhaal vehicle, and it should be on this list. I bought that movie digital first day it hit. And I was, the last time I cared about awards, which I never really did, but kind of pretended to care about awards, was when Nightcrawler got snuffed from the Oscars. Or snubbed, I guess would be the more accurate word. It got taken out. Either way, it works. It was not mentioned for Best Picture, which it should have been. Best Actor for sure for Jake Gyllenhaal there. He plays this very unconventional individual who knows what he has to do to achieve success in the media industry. And that's getting a camera guy and going right up to the source of issues, which means breaking and entering while a domestic abuse situation is taking place. Maybe even moving bodies that were just recently freshly killed to get a better angle of a shot. He's willing to go the extra mile and break a few laws in the process to make a name for himself. Nightcrawler's it's a ride. Thank you, Jan. Matt's back. $9.99. Thank you, Matt. Basic Instinct and Cape Fear. Cape Fear with Mark Wahlberg. Yeah, that's a good flick. I haven't seen that one in so long. I actually just completely forgot it exists. that's with Reese Witherspoon too. And Basic Instinct, Lindsay told me to put on the list. I don't think I did. That's Sharon Stone. I honestly meant to put it on there because I asked her if she had any recommendations. She threw out Basic Instinct. I completely butchered putting it on the list. But now you've said it, Matt, so I don't have to. And I appreciate you for that. Thank you very much. Another one that almost made it, but I'd only seen it once, and I just felt like it was probably pretty bad, was The Crush with Alicia Silverstone. Kind of a reverse Cape Fear situation where she's the psychological terrorist screwing with the new neighbor guy. We got one more before I continue. That is from Mark Markson's Bass Channel. Bass Channel. The Bass Channel. Oh, God. For $2.99. I don't know why is there an A? That must have been just a mistake. Have you seen the latest couple Ahsoka? Is it Ashoka or I think it's Ahsoka episodes? I have not seen an episode of Ahsoka. I don't have any desire to. Kind of like the new MCU shows that come to Disney Plus. I just don't care at all about the Star Wars stuff. The Mandalorian was so bad last season. It was embarrassing. And then Obi-Wan was just kiddie garbage for the most part. What am I getting with Ahsoka? Is it worth watching? You can let me know in a comment after the video. I don't see any reason to put any more time and investment into this shit when there's so much other better stuff to watch. We have 10 Fast and the Furious movies to get through, right? I mean, come on. What am I wasting my time with Star Wars when we have Fast and the Furious 11 on the horizon? No, I don't really see the need. Star Wars is kind of dead to me. The MCU is pretty much dead to me. They're going to have to do some actual work to get me back in their corner. Thank you for the super chat. Matt Sclero, no Cape Fear with De Niro. Oh, did I see the wrong movie? Cape Fear. Oh, there's a different. I don't even know what this movie is. Oh my God. Cape Fear. What was I thinking of? Isn't there a Mark Wahlberg movie? Mark Wahlberg. Oh, it's just Fear. Oh, fuck. I've never seen it. I've never seen Cape Fear with De Niro. I'm a movie critic. It's not my full-time job. If it was my full-time job, then you could be like, you're a joke. But I have a full-time job, so I'm going to use that as an excuse for not seeing Cape Fear or even knowing of its existence. Jesus Christ. Like, I know the name. I shouldn't say I don't know of its existence. I know the name, but I have not seen that movie. I've not seen Cape Fear. Okay, I have seen The Invisible Man, which is, of course, a remake. But it's one of the remakes that I really enjoyed. We have America's Sweetheart Kate Moss from Handmaid's Tale. We have, I don't know anybody else that's in this movie. Storm Reed. That's a person I guess I should probably know. I've seen that name before. Really, what we have here is an ex-boyfriend who just does not want to give it up. And he's invisible, which makes matters a lot worse for our main lead. He's going to be stalking her the whole movie. And they have some good tension in this thing because he's in the room with her, but you can't see him, just like she can't see him. But we know he's there. The presence is there. It's very unnerving. It's tough to watch sometimes because you're just waiting for a throat to get slit or someone to get cut or thrown against a wall. It does have a bit of an action vibe to it at some points. There's one scene in the hallway where he's basically going John Wick on a bunch of orderlies. He's just chucking them around, breaking legs. I like the way this is shot. I like the pace of it. It's a good time. The Invisible Man, one of the few remakes that I really enjoy. It's right up there with Cape Fear. We already talked about Primal Fear. We're going to go to the next one here. Sleepers, 1996. We got Kevin Bacon. We have Cape Fear star Robert De Niro. We have, Dustin Hoffman's in this. Brad Pitt. It's just a Minnie Driver again. Okay, I was never a big Minnie Driver fan, but Minnie Driver's in this. What we have here is a school of young boys who are getting a lot of bad shit's happening to them by the prison guards. This is a really hard movie to watch, but it's really told in 2 acts. Act 1 is the brutal treatment these kids are getting from these asshole crooked guards, Kevin Bacon being one of them. And then the second act is them grown up and how they're going to get the revenge on this guy. And you have De Niro as the lawyer who's going to have to basically save their lives in court against the treatment the injustice that has been delivered so far. The funnest part about this movie is that Sleepers was one of the early releases on DVD when DVD first came birthed into the world, and I had my hands on it. And halfway through the movie, much like Stargate, another one that I tried watching on DVD, the film just stops, just goes black. Halfway through the film, it's over. I'm laying on the couch. It's the middle of the night. And I'm just like, what happened? Did it freeze? What's the skip protection on a DVD player? And I get up and I find it's 2-sided. They print half on one, half on the other. So you have to flip the disc like you would a fucking cassette. God damn it, I can't talk. They have to flip it like you would a cassette tape. What year is this? I thought DVD was supposed to be the future. But I'm having to flip sides. Yeah, that's what Sleepers was. Freaking Friday night, tired as shit, can't talk. I apologize. Deliverance. Skidda-ding, ding, 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 ding. I've seen this movie once. It haunts me. Speaking of America's Sweetheart, we have John Voight in this. We have Burt Reynolds. You know, some guys just being guys take a nice little river trip out in the woods, and what they find is not what they expect. A bunch of hillbilly rednecks take a couple of them, beat them, have their way with them, and the rest of it's going to be a survival picture trying to get out. It's a thriller in the sense that it's very disturbing. It's kind of like Descent. Remember the movie The Descent, which I also almost put on this list, but that's more scary. Deliverance is more psychological. And, someone's going to get out of this alive, but do they actually get out of what occurred? That's the message here. You don't ever really get free from something like this. Good flick. And that's it. That's my list. I think I gave you like 20 or so. Let's get back into full screen. Obviously, people brought up some really great ones, some ones that I hadn't heard of because I guess I just have been sleeping during some of the time. Mike, pause, Hunt for $5. Mike gets me pretty much every time he shows up with his name alone. But I'm getting wise to it. I have to slow down when I read his name because if you read it too fast, Watch Cube, 1997. It's a bit low budget, but it's a good sci-fi horror thriller. Cube. I always get Cube confused with The Cell, which is that gross bondage style one with J-Lo, I think. I get Cube, Cell, and Cape Fear confused. And Fear confused. They're really all the same movie for me. Thank you, Mike. Space. Hunt. Kyle Nelson, 199. Hollow Man. 2000 Kevin Bacon is better. Fight me. Oh, I disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly on that. The effects don't hold up in Hollow Man. It looks really fake. I don't agree. There's a lot of Kevin Bacon creepy movies. Stir of Echoes is another one. They just don't land fully for me, and that's why they're not on the list. Hollow Man, I probably should rewatch though. I don't think it was a bad movie, if I remember right. It just didn't really do anything too exciting. Okay, those were that was a lot. We had a lot of fun here, I think. I'll stick around for a few more minutes. I do have to go finish Prisoners though. So, don't let me keep you up. If you feel like you have a movie or something that wasn't said here, please throw me a super chat. And we're kind of racing to the finish line because I'm sure my wife is upstairs with her finger on the trigger. She's got that play button and she's just ready to pounce on it if she hasn't already screwed me over and finished watching it. But yeah, we'll give you a couple more seconds for soups. And then we'll go from there. We'll leave you in peace. I think Mortal Kombat 1 came out yesterday. I was meaning to pick that up. I usually wait till they go on sale, but Mortal Kombat 1 looks freaking awesome. I think I have to get that. So I'll just take a drink of Coke. Shouldn't be drinking this late at night either. And I'll leave you with a little bit of housekeeping, what's going on. I mentioned that Showgirls is going to be up on the docket for next week. I would like to get 2 of them out for roasts. I'd like to get Showgirls done and Street Fighter, the movie, but these take a long time to make, so I'm not making that promise. But we will get Showgirls for sure. Matt, thank you, of course, for the support and for the recommendation. We'll get that going. I did see A Haunting in Venice last night. I put out a little YouTube short on it, 45-second review, 60-second review, whatever they are. And I will probably do a full review for it. Maybe I'll film it tomorrow if I'm feeling okay. Connor has a basketball game. We have a Pokemon Go hunt that we have to do for a couple hours downtown. So we're going to be doing that as a family. And after that, maybe, we'll see. Maybe I can get a review out for the Haunting one and for that Jar Hand Soul movie that I saw last week at the Monday premiere and I never even bothered reviewing. I could do those too. Otherwise, besides those, look for the lives going up Tuesday and Friday, and we'll have the podcast Monday. Again, patreon.com/AdamDoesMovies or YouTube join. There's a join button. You can show your support right here. There's a $1 tier. There's a 10. And I should point out, some people got kicked off on Patreon. Their cards were no longer valid because Patreon did something stupid with their internal system. So people might not even know that they're not supporting anymore. Okay, that was a lot. I'm going to leave it there. Wait, we did get a couple more in at the end, so we'll end here. Mark is back, $2.99. Ahsoka is a strong female lead. And quite frankly, it's about time. Thank you, Mark. And yes, she is. Mike Hunt, $2. What's your favorite Friday the 13th? I don't have one, Mike. I'm sorry you wasted $2 on that question. I'm not really into Friday the 13th. I could look it up really quick. Friday the 13th. Yeah, I don't really care for any of them, if I'm going to be frank with you. And I haven't seen a lot of them. I saw the one where he goes to space, and I didn't care for it. But maybe Friday the 13th is a property that this year, this Halloween, this October, I say, you know what, Adam? This is the year you become a Friday the 13th watcher. And I should probably marathon them. There's like 20, right? I mean, there's a lot. Probably realistically, there's 9 or 10. I'll give them a shot and I'll report back. How's that sound? Because I am always looking for new scary movies to watch at the holiday. We'll make it happen, Cap'n. And yeah, in the following weeks during these Friday streams, we'll probably do more list style like this. we'll come up with some more topics. We will get, of course, scary movies. Maybe we'll do a theme on best haunted mansion movies. Maybe we'll do a theme on best ghost movies, best monster movies. There's a lot of options here. The sky's really the limit, and I appreciate the engagement. We got one more at the end from Kali Wally for $5. Thank you, Kali Wally. Old Boy, Korean 2003, and The Nightingale 2019 are two really dark and disturbing thrillers to watch. Yes, Old Boy, I was almost going to put on my list, and I always get shit on this. I've only seen the American version of Old Boy, and I hear the Korean one is so much better. It's still on my list to watch. I was going to bring it up because I actually like the American version quite a bit, and I got shit on for it because I guess it just pales in comparison to the other one, but that wasn't in my mind. I don't know it, so this is as its own thing. It works. Thank you. I will make sure to note that I need to watch Old Boy for the 5,000th time. And I also have not heard of Nightingale. Who's a Nightingale? Nightingale. So that's just going to bring up the animal. Of course, that's just going to bring up the animal. Movie. 2018. I don't know what this is. Everything in this film, from the gore to the room, is very realistic and strong. Okay, well, that sounds intense. It does. It definitely sounds intense. Thanks again, Wally. We're going to leave it there. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you had a good time. Hopefully, I gave you one or two thrillers that you can put on your bucket list for this year. And with that, I'm going to go finish Prisoners. And maybe, just maybe, it'll work better the second time.